So we'll have a look at these descriptors, and I would advise you, you can get these freely off the OET website, so go on there and have a look. I'll put it on full screen, and then it's clearer for us. And I'll just minimize this. Okay, so we'll have a look. So really, we won't spend a lot of time on 1, 2, and 3 because you certainly do not want to be down there. Obviously 0, there's no response from the candidate. So 2, you've got an extremely limited communication due to constant errors and or severely restricted linguistic resources, very brief, significantly unfinished. So that's going to be far too short. So it's not going to give the assessor a good sample of your writing. And then we've got appropriateness of language there. So often unintelligible, no evidence of organization. So that's going to cause some strain for the reader. Comprehension of stimulus. So misunderstood the task. So remember, when you're doing these letters, you should be looking at the task first, so you understand exactly what you have to do. So, you know, once you read through the case notes, that should be clear. So we've got linguistic features, very limited grammatical resource, even in simple sentences, no attempt of cohesive devices, and then presentation features, limited control of spelling and punctuation, layout of letters inappropriate. Now, you will know that the body of the essay is what is really assessed, but you still have to show that you can write a letter. So you must have an appropriate layout. If we look at 3, we've got overall task fulfillment again. So this time is better. So is able to partly fulfill some of the task requirements, however significantly limited, frequent lapses, errors, and restricted linguistic resources. You'll note the answer may be far too long or far too short. Now, if you go a little over length or a little under length, it doesn't really matter, but you don't want to be writing 350 words, or if you write 120 words, obviously that's going to be too short as well. We've got appropriateness of language. So for 3, frequently inappropriate register, tone, and lexis for context. So you must remember, when you're writing these letters, you need to be using impersonal tone. So you don't want to personalize the letter at all. So what concerns me most about her condition, or I am very concerned about her condition. So don't personalize your letters. Poor organization of material, and this would cause serious strain for the reader. Comprehension of stimulus here, basic errors, comprehension of stimulus material and task instructions. But again, frequent inaccuracies or inappropriate selection of material. And then for linguistic features, limited range of grammatical structures, errors are frequent, intrusive, reflecting inadequate resources of grammar, minimal or inappropriate use of cohesive devices, and then limited control of spelling and punctuation, frequent inaccuracies are intrusive. And again, you'll see layout of letter may be inappropriate. So now we want to be looking at a good foundation to move up to getting a B or A. So where you've got to, you can understand things, but you need to improve a little. So if we look at 4, for task fulfillment, can manage the task. However, there's still restricted range and flexibility or lapses or errors. And there again, maybe too long or too short. Appropriateness of language, generally appropriate lexis, tone, and lexis for the context. However, errors are noticeable. Inappropriate organization of information sometimes causes strain. So you have to put yourself in a real life situation. So imagine when you're doing these letters, what information does the reader actually need to continue treatment of the patient? So that's really important. So for comprehension of stimulus, so it's generally accurate, understanding of stimulus, material and instructions. There are some omissions or irrelevancies, and they are noticeable. So maybe too much or too little information. And then linguistic, fair range of grammatical structures, errors are noticeable, and times reflect limited grammatical resources. So you basically want to be using a mixture of complex and simple sentences. Inappropriate or insufficient cohesive devices sometimes causes strain. So you don't want to be overusing cohesive devices either, because I know maybe many people have actually taken the IELTS test before coming over to do the OET test. And then I see a lot of people overusing cohesive devices in addition, furthermore, moreover. So, you know, you want to be using enough, but you don't want to be overusing those, because it makes the letter look unnatural. And then presentation features, layout of letters mostly appropriate, and there are some inaccuracies in spelling and punctuation. So here's the golden 5. So generally fulfills the task, though occasional minor lapses, errors may indicate some limitations. Answer may be slightly too short or too long, so slightly. Appropriateness of language, mostly appropriate register and tone, lexis for the context. A few inaccuracies do not impede communication. So again, if the reader's reading it, there won't be any misunderstanding. So we have to put ourselves again in a real life situation. We don't want the reader to misunderstand some of that information. Organization is mostly clear, minor lapses in sequencing. Comprehension of stimulus, almost complete understanding of stimulus, material and task instructions. There are occasional omissions or irrelevancies, do not impede communication. So they're allowing a few errors there. And then linguistic, mostly accurate use of range of grammatical structures, generally appropriate use of cohesive devices. And again, occasional errors are not intrusive. So you have to remember the difference between a pass or a fail here could actually be the number of errors you make. That could be the difference between a B and a C. So when you finish your letters, make sure you always go through and edit to check for mistakes. And then 5 for presentation features, mostly accurate spelling, punctuation. Again, occasional errors are not intrusive, layout of letter is appropriate. And then we've got the big 6. So basically, as you would expect, all aspects of the task effectively fulfilled. Appropriateness of language, entirely appropriate register, tone and lexis for the content. Material is clearly and logically organized. Comprehension of stimulus, complete understanding of stimulus material and task instructions. Selects all relevant material from stimulus notes. And then we've got lexis, linguistic features, wide range of grammatical structures, accurately and flexibly used. Fluent linking of ideas, appropriate cohesive devices. And then the last but not least, presentation features, high level of accuracy, spelling and punctuation, layout of letter is appropriate. So those are useful for you. So I would advise you to download that off the OET website, and that's going to help you once you're going through your letter and editing your letter and checking. You can check against the banned descriptors. So it's a useful tool for you to have in your writing preparation material.
Great stuff, Stephen. Thank you very much.